Hi, and welcome to Once Upon a Nightmare. I'm your host, Amy Metcalf.
And I'm your other host, Ashley Dory, and welcome to tonight's nightmare.
So tonight we're going to be discussing something rather gruesome and horrifying. To me, this is horrifying. We're going to be talking about baby farms, not to be confused with body farms. But yeah, well, I guess, just with a lot more darker extent to it.
Well,
It's awful. We've kind of touched on this in one of our other episodes where we talked about the Butterbox Babies, and it's pretty much the same thing, but to a wider extent.
Yeah, that's sad.
It is. It's so sad. Like anybody that can harm an innocent being, whether it be a child or an animal, is awful in my books. Like, you do not deserve rights.
Like, pretty much.
And I don't even care like what time this was, like, although I guess back in the day it was like more of like kill or be killed.
Well, it was the whole idea of like premature sex, right?
Well,
You couldn't have, if you had premature sex, you were a ruined woman.
But it's not even just like from those kinds of, anyway, we'll get into it, but it doesn't just always have to be. Sorry, she is so annoying when her brother is here and when he's not here, so she just wants my attention 24/7. Go see your dad. But yeah, so I guess, well, let's go to it. Let's grab our snacks, sit back,
grab your snacks,
sit back, and wow.
And let's get started.
It's been a few weeks. We still have not mastered that intro. We might have to change our intro a little bit because, like, I want to be able to master it without having to look at it. And because now I have a new setup, I have a laptop now that I'm filming on instead of just my phone. So it's not like I only have the script on my tablet and I don't want to grab it. It's in the living room. So, but yeah.
And I am here for kind of like moral support. I don't know a whole lot about baby farms, except for like this when we touched on it with the Butterbox Babies. That was like my extent of knowledge. So I'm just here to look beautiful and to provide witty comebacks.
Listen, we're both looking like grandmas with our blanket and shawl here.
I am comfortable. I don't know what you're talking about. I am toasty and warm inside my fuzzy blankie.
I have not been warm all day. I have this problem with my car. And it's not that the heat doesn't work. It works great. It just doesn't like the cold outside. Well, no, my windshield doesn't like the heat inside and the cold outside. So I either have to die or freeze to death. So I guess I'm dying either way, to be quite honest.
No. There's little prickly things on this blanket. I regret choosing this blanket.
Nah.
It's itchy.
So you're not as comfy as you said you were.
Well, no, not now. Now I'm paying attention to the itchy things on like the back of my neck here, and I was like,
So yeah, we're gonna talk about the baby farms. So even the most sheltered of us, I don't know if we were completely sheltered, but like I also worked in group homes, not as much foster care, but foster care is probably a lot worse. Well, no, they can both be about the same, but foster care and group homes can be like so bad. But back before there were arms of government to protect wards of the state, which I honestly, a lot of children fall through the cracks of the government. And they claim to be, oh, we care about our children and everything. They really don't. They don't do very much for the kids. Like in some cases, yes, but a lot of kids get forgotten about, and that's why they have so many like trust issues and why they can't have meaningful relationships, because people are going in and out of their lives, or they've been abused by people who are supposed to care about them, quote unquote, the government.
Mm-hmm.
And it's awful, and it breaks my heart. And it, like, I still talk to some of my girls. Hey guys, if you're listening. um but yeah. um so yeah, before all that there were orphanages. Aren't there still orphanages, or no?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I thought so. And before orphanage, I guess they're not as big. Before
It's
orphanages.
more, I think it's more for orphanages. It's more like third world country. Well, not even. They're big in Russia.
Yeah, I really should
China
look.
has orphanages. America has orphanages. I know we do have probably a couple here in Canada, but
Yeah, it's kind of like the asylums. They kind of just like went out. Like there's still a couple, but like not as much as there used to be. And before orphanages, there used to be baby farming. And like I'll post these to our Instagram, but like there's even like little cartoons that they did. Like there's this one from June 9th, 1912. So I got a lot of this information from Messy Nessie, and I'll be reading pretty much kind of like from it. I love the the name of this website, Messy Nessie. It's really cute. Um, Messy Nessie Cheek. I will put that in Chic, I guess. I'll put that in the description below if you want to check it out. Um, Baby farming was a term coined during the Victorian era to describe the practice of taking custody of unwanted children or those whose parents were unable to care for them for a small fee. Essentially, a baby farm was a for-profit orphanage. The practice of baby farming was most widespread in urban areas of late Victorian era England, but it was also prevalent in North America and Oceania, which is Australia, for which I didn't even know that they had a different name, but sorry guys.
I wasn't aware that.
Yeah. Like if you look in kids books, like it says well, at least the kids I work with, like it says Oceania instead of Australia.
I feel betrayed after all these years.
Right. At least I believe I'm gonna have to double check. In an era when the most prevalent form of contraception was abortion for working class Victorian women who found themselves unable to care for a child, a less dangerous alternative was to surrender their newborn or put them out to nurse at a baby farm for a small weekly fee. Most women chose this route, assumed that their child would be properly cared for, and receive a wet nurse, attention, room and board at the very least. But after all, as referenced heavily in the writings of Jane Austen, wealthier women were also known to put their infants in the care of wet nurses. Women who were not the children's biological mothers, but who would breastfeed the children. Ew. That's what a wet nurse was. A lot of people
I know, yeah. But like
it seems weird, but like a lot of women still do that. Like if yeah.
It's just though. For me personally, it's not, it's one of those things.
It does seem weird. Like I think it's because like it's a personal bond for a lot of mothers and daughters. But I guess when you also think about it too, like if your baby needs to be fed and there's nothing there and it's just one person, like, yeah, please feed my baby. But
yeah, but that's like back when, wet nurses were needed, because if a mother's supply didn't come in, the baby literally would die. But like we have this thing now called formula.
Yeah, but I don't know. I a lot of people like even get donations of breast milk. But like it formula is so expensive, and sometimes babies don't react well to it too, right? So
like if somebody eats something that your baby's allergic to, or
yeah, so it's iffy. But and also like back then too, like if you had money, they didn't get a wet nurse because they couldn't produce the milk. They got a wet nurse because they didn't want to see the baby until they were like 18.
They were tired. They're like, no thanks. I already
They're like
birthed you.
Yeah, I birthed you. I'll see you when you have manners. You know?
Hopefully you don't die before your 14th birthday. See you then.
Yeah. I'll see you maybe every Christmas. And on special dinners, like when people are over, and then that's it. um the fictional character Renui of Perfume, which was a weird movie, as well as the titular character of Charles Dickens' Oliver Twist, were both residents of baby farms. In 1834, the Poor Law Amendment Act allowed poor unwed mothers to be given food, money, or clothing from the parish only if they went to live in the workhouse. According to the Ultimate History Project, because of the extremely dire conditions of workhouses, many of the women eligible for workhouse placement chose to place their children elsewhere so that they could continue to work and earn money outside of the workhouse. One of the most common forms of employment for young women was in domestic service, but servants usually lived in their masters' homes, which didn't leave room for children. The wages they earned, however, did allow them to send money to other women to raise the infants. And many of these self-named nurses or foster mothers did not regard themselves as baby farmers. In theory, the system was working well. It was a sort of round-the-clock daycare for working mothers. Ideally, the baby farm would be close to where the mother worked so she could visit often. In reality, very few children surrendered to baby farms would even survive their infancy. Such tragedies occurred when carers, mostly women, started to exploit the business model. As a modus operandi, nurses would take in far more children than they could realistically care for in order to increase income. How could one maximize the profit? Take in more children and save on the cost of providing for them adequately. During the height of industrialization and urbanization, combined with the stagnant wages, farms actively published advertisements seeking unwanted children to foster or adopt. Predominantly located in city centers, these were notoriously unhealthy places for children. They died rapidly from illness, malnutrition, neglect, and abuse. Conditions grew so grim that even when a nurse was well-intentioned, the child had a poor chance of living to adulthood. Most were sent away as soon as the mothers could leave the bed, substituting breast milk for pitiful diets. There's another picture that I'll post to Instagram as well. While some nurses required a weekly sum from the mothers, other more nefarious operations required upfront payments for taking a child. Since these small lump sum payments could not cover the care of the child for long, the dangers of such an arrangement are obvious. But a young woman with an illegitimate child was often desperate to replace the child and return to work. With upfront payments and early infant deaths, baby farmers started to realize the arrangement could be more profitable for them if the infant or child they adopted died early, leaving room to house more vulnerable children and bring in constant supply of cash. This practice eventually led to one of the darkest pages in recent history. One of the most prolific serial killers in the world was a baby farmer. I think I was gonna do this woman as my female serial killer, but I ended up not doing it because I forgot who it was. Amelia Dyer was a widow and trained nurse and initially she cared for her charges legitimately. A number of them still died in her care, though, which led to a conviction of neglect and 6 months hard labor. It's estimated that she took 400 lives in her baby farming business.
Jesus.
Yeah. Strangling many of them and disposing of the bodies. One of the babies was discovered in the river Thames. She was convicted of the infant's murder and hanged. But Amelia Dyer was far from the only murderers that spawned from baby farming. Margaret Waters also disposed of the children in her care, but she came to realize that it was far easier to drug the babies with opiates, which suppressed their appetites and left them to slowly starve before dumping them on the street in brown paper, a sight that was not uncommon during those times due to the high cost of burials. 5 babies died in her care, but she is suspected of murdering 19.
Oh, don't forget about Jack and Lila. Butterbox baby murders.
Yeah. She was eventually arrested, tried, and hanged for the murder of John Walter Cowan, the illegitimate son of 16-year-old Janet Tassie Cowan. Waters' crimes led to the establishment of the Infant Life Protection Act in 1872.
It took that long for people to be like, maybe we should put something in place that stops people from just killing babies.
Right? It's like the matters are being
throwing that out there, guys. Lots of people kill babies.
It's like getting so many letters. It's like, oh, all these babies, man. Like, we'll deal with it tomorrow. And tomorrow comes and it's like, oh, the next day, whatever. You know, and then you know what? Fine, we'll give them rights. You know,
I guess
we'll protect them
and they're breathing.
Our population's kind of dying down and we do need some babies, so we might want to protect them so we can, like, you know, grow our population and have like more doctors for the future. And because like I know I'm gonna get sick and I need somebody to care for me.
Yeah.
Like, like, no wonder why we're so far behind. We killed all the future scientists and everything that would have made like all these extraordinary advances.
So you killed Albert Einstein. You killed the Albert. Yeah, wow.
Oh, wow.
This just proves it. You killed the Leonardo da Vinci's and the Albert
Einsteins.
Thank you, Albert Einsteins of the world. Yeah. And you're left with the Kardashians and Carrot Top.
Carrot Top, poor Carrot. What did Carrot Top ever do to you? He hasn't done anything lately.
Next thing I knew, I get a cease and desist from freaking Carrot Top. Being like, bitch, stop talking.
We have to take this episode down now. Oh man. So researching baby farms will lead one quickly into the realm of female serial murderers. There was the midwife Amelia Dyer, who helped women deliver babies, telling them she would find them homes with wealthy couples in exchange for money. Once in her care, Sack and her employee Annie Walters then poisoned the children with chlorodine and dumped them in trash heaps or the River Thames. Man, the River Thames has a lot of babies in it.
Really do. It really, really do.
Why is it always the River Thames? Like,
why is it babies?
Why is it baby? Why is it anybody? Like, poor babies, man.
Drink a 7-Up, eat a moon pie, just quit killing people.
Don't get mad, get glad.
Don't know. That's a bad. You don't need garbage bags. You're not killing anybody.
Amy, more than just garbage bags.
Well, how are they going to dispose of the babies?
Why are you
Wood chippers are hard to come by, Amy. Garbage bags are plentiful at the dollar store.
Glad has zippered snack bags now. Maybe they'll make snacks for the babies instead of killing them. Why are you looking at me?
You're really hoping, aren't you?
Oh, this is
Put your
awful.
faith into those money hungry baby killers, huh? You're like, yep, they can. They're just providing snacks.
That's what they say they're providing.
Well, they're supposed to be providing snacks from somebody else, but they're not providing. They're like, here, have some condensed milk. It's
No, not condensed milk. They'd probably give them powdered milk. Are you kidding me?
I don't know. I feel like it would be condensed. I feel like the canned condensed milk is what they would have given babies, or maybe just corn syrup. They were just like, here.
Or water. They're like, here you go. Here's some well water.
Here's some water from the river. It's
hopefully you don't get cholera.
cold. Enjoy.
Oh man. When Annie was arrested, she was holding one of her victims. She and Amelia were both convicted of murder and executed by hanging. In New Zealand, Minnie Dean, the only woman to be executed in New Zealand's history. Minnie Dean was a baby farmer in Scandinavia. These child murderers were commonly referred to as, I am going to butcher this so bad, Angla Makerska, literally meaning a female angel maker. That is awful.
A female angel. So like,
because she's killing the baby. No, because she's killing babies and making angels out of the babies, because babies are obviously going to be angels. They're innocent. That is awful. One might think and hope that this practice faded with the new protections for children, and it did fade, but not completely. Oh, this is where we touched upon this. In the 1930s in Nova Scotia, there was the case of William and Lila Young.
Oh, William. Why did I say Jack? It was William. Oh.
Were you watching Titanic?
No, not recently. Not in the last 12 years.
Young and Lila Young and the Butterbox Babies. They established a refuge for unmarried mothers, which they named the Ideal Maternity Home. As described in Bet L. Cahill's book, Butterbox Babies, within 2 weeks, the children would succumb, and be finally laid to rest with white pine butter boxes standing in for coffins. Their tiny bodies would be either buried behind the maternity home property in a field adjacent to a nearby cemetery, tossed into the sea, or burned in the home's furnace. Whew.
Bad juju in that house, I'm telling you.
Oh God, yeah. Is that anywhere near you? East Chester.
It's not too far, actually.
Why didn't you take me there? I would have seen. Like,
we didn't have time. When you come down again, we will go.
Okay.
There's actually a few places to go. There's one where it was the movie Life with Billy. It's a true story that happened down here about a guy that abused his wife and his entire family. Anyway, she shot him in his truck, and then her son killed himself. Oof. And then she committed suicide. Oof. And there's only one left, I think. One boy is left living. I might be wrong. Hopefully I'm not, but that's not far from here either. Just saying, Life with Billy house is still there.
So we weren't quite expecting to discover that devastatingly the term baby farming is still used today to describe similarly dark but different business model, formerly known as child harvesting. It refers to the systematic sale of human children, typically for adoption by families in the developed world, where childless couples might be stigmatized, but sometimes for other purposes, including exploitation and trafficking for slave labor. I saw this girl on TikTok, and I think this almost kind of happened to her, but like it was so weird. Um, she was like illegally adopted, like somebody else was supposed to adopt her, but somebody else did, and it was just so sketchy. And she still has like, and the people that adopted her told her lies all her life, and then she met her real mom and found out that they had lied to her mom and all this other stuff. So like this stuff still happens today. Like again, the government, they don't care. And like I'm
Honestly,
surprised there are privatized adoptions still, like private adoption agencies, because I don't trust them.
Nova Scotia is one of the worst provinces for human trafficking in Canada. We are right on the ocean.
Yeah.
What comes into our shorelines is cargo freights, and a lot of people can be taking a net on those. And once you're out,
Yeah.
you're never going to be found again.
It's so scary. It is so scary. Like I my children are going to be on leashes. I don't care what people say. Like they're going to be on leashes.
Honestly, like, I freak out at my kids, and this is going to sound awful. I freak out at my kids in public because I don't like them walking behind me. They have a very bad habit of like when we're out like grocery shopping or something, I'll be pushing the cart and they'll be walking back here, and I'll be like, no, I need you here in front of me. I'm like, I can't walk like this.
Like no matter where you are, like whether you're in Nova Scotia or anywhere, watch your freaking children. I remember once, I think I posted something about this on TikTok, but I was walking and like this couple, they were walking ahead, and they're he was like between 3 and 5. And he was walking behind very slowly, doing his own little thing. And like, this was not the best part of the city. I live in Montreal, and like, there's homeless people galore. Like, not saying like the homeless would do anything, but like, there's a lot of drug addicts in this area. There's an SQDC, which is where the dispensary is. So a lot of addicts hanging around there. And like, this kid isn't being watched, and like I think the dad was on his phone, and like I'm walking slowly behind because I'm like, well, if nobody's gonna watch the kid, I'll fucking watch the kid, because if somebody jumps out of a car and tries to take him, I'll like murder somebody. Like, don't touch somebody's kid. Like, it's so,
I do that like when I'm at Walmart or something and I see a child like running through the store by themselves. I'm like, and I probably end up honestly looking like a creep myself because I'm watching a child, but like I'm making sure that whoever comes up to that child looks like that child.
Like if anybody ever called me out on it, what was that?
I don't entirely know. My cats are both staring into a corner of my living room that I cannot see right now. And one of them, the hair on the back of his neck is standing up. So God only knows. I'm gonna ignore it.
And where's the dog?
She's in her bed. She's in her
so it ain't about the dog.
Nope.
We'll You want to tell everybody what your daughter said the other day?
Holy shit. Okay, so I was sitting here at the computer, and they were sitting at the table eating their supper, and I was talking to my oldest, and I can't remember what we were talking about, and I was mid sentence, right? And she's like, was that you? And I'm like, was what me? I'm like, I was just talking, was what me? And she goes, did you just say your own name? And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah. She's like, did you just go, Ash? And I went, no. I'm like, why would I say my own name like that, Charlotte? She's like, is dad awake? And she gets up off of her chair and goes over. She's like, dad? And I was just like, you need to sit down right now. I'm like, I cannot emotionally handle this shit. So we're sitting here. And I kid you not, I've got my headphones on. I've got one earphone on. I've got one earphone off. The one that's pointed towards the kid is off, and like the rest of the house. I hear a man. I hear a man talking, and I take the headphones off, and I do what I just did now, and I like leaned over and looked, and I was like, Garrett, are you up? And there's no fucking answer. I looked at Charlotte, and Charlotte's like, did you hear that? And I'm like, shut up, Charlotte. I was like, it was nothing. It was nothing. It was nothing. Shut up.
It was whatever I was listening to.
Oh, Mom, no. I swear. Oh.
Well, I hope you have a good sleep tonight.
Oh.
So formerly known as child harvesting, it refers to the systematic sale of human children, typically for adoption by families in the developed world where childless couples might be stigmatized, but sometimes for other purposes, including exploitation and trafficking for slave labor. Baby farms have been found in India, Nigeria, Guatemala, Thailand, and Egypt. Save the Children is leading several campaigns to combat child trafficking through prevention, protection, and prosecution, working with communities, local organizations, and civil society, and national governments to protect children from being exploited and to help restore the dignity of children who have survived. So yeah, poor children. It is very awful, and I hate that people, again, parents, watch your children, and it is okay to put your children on leashes. If you
got a runner, put the freaking kid on a leash.
If you have a wild child in general, like, I swear, if you met my fiance, like, my children are going to be wild.
So the only thing that happened to me that was scary with my kids is I was helping somebody cross the road, and I thought Garrett was watching Lila.
Ooh.
And I just happened to turn back, and I saw the car coming down the road, and I saw Lila, she was 2 at the time, just toddling her way onto the road. I ran into the road. I picked her up, and I put my hand out, and it was a cop car.
Oh no.
I was like, I went right after Garrett. I was like, why weren't you watching her?
Yeah. I've almost seen a kid run, like, in Malton, which is Mississauga. There's Goreway Drive, which is super busy. I was really young, and I saw a child almost run out into the middle of the road just because, like, he was having a tantrum, and the mother, like, caught him, thankfully, and because that is one busy road, and you don't want to be running in the middle of that. No. But yeah, like, it's okay to put your child on a leash. It means you're trying to protect them, because as much as we like to say that we have our eyes on our children 24/7,
it takes 2 seconds.
It takes 2 seconds. And they're fast little buggers. They are fast, they are strong, and they're done. They're gone.
Lila, we were in Moncton, and we were in Children's Place, and we were looking at clothes. And I had turned around for 2 seconds. I shit you not, 2 seconds. I turned back around, and I went, where's Lila? And Heidi, I had Heidi with me. So there were 2 adults. Yeah. And I looked at Charlotte. I went, where's your sister? And she goes, I don't know. And I was yelling in a Children's Place, like, you get out here now. I was almost in tears. And she comes out from a fucking clothing rack. She was hiding because she thought it was funny.
Too. Yeah. And I did that too. And now, like, as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, I must have given my mom. Actually, it was a little different as well back then. Like,
we rode in the back of pickup trucks because we could.
Yeah.
Our parents didn't want to listen to us, so they were like, getting back.
I rode in the front seat all the time. And a lot of the times I only like, so cars also had these seatbelt things that like kind of like did the like up the door and when you would close it. And sometimes that was the only thing protecting me. Like it was different times back then.
I remember being in the back seat, like standing with our arms around the front seat, like looking out while my dad's driving, or my dad pulling us from the back seat into the front seat with him, giving us the
because you were fighting
wheel and being like, your turn, you drive now. I'm like letting go.
Oh, that never happened with me.
My dad used to do that with us. He used to let us drive down back roads all the time. He would literally be like, do you want to drive? And we'd be like, oh, yeah. And we'd hop up this.
How old were you?
I might have been, it started about 5 and 6.
Could you even reach the pedal?
No, I would like sit on his lap and he would control the pedal, but I would be the one steering the car.
He was a brave man.
He did it for me and my brother. We both used to do it all the time. Like the amount of unsafe things that we did as children.
Oh yeah. Like and one, we also didn't have cell phones, children. If you're from 20, I guess 2000s and older.
It was if you wanted to get a hold of your parents, you had to go to the payphone, pick it up, do a collect call. And when it said, you have a collect call from, you would go, hi mom, this is Ashley, I'm down at blah blah blah, can you come pick me up? And then you would hang up and hope that they would come back get you.
See, my godmother always just accepted it.
I always just did just in the name, just I would say, hey, it's me, can you come get me at blah, and then I would hang up.
I did that the first few times, like at in Erin, and she would just accept it, and I was like, okay, I can just do this, and she'll accept it.
Collect call you, and I need you.
Yeah, exactly, because it's not like anyway. But
because if you didn't have a quarter, you couldn't use the payphone, children.
They're like 50 cents now. But like we also didn't have cell phones, and I would be like 8 years old on my bike everywhere. I would just be home in time for dinner. Like
you would be home for your meals. You would come home for lunch. You'd come home for supper. Other than that, your ass was outside and you were playing with friends. And the way you found your friends was you either went to their house and you went up to the door and you knocked on it and you said, excuse me, Mr. or Mr. So-and-so, is insert name here home? And can they come out and play? And you would have to talk to their parents.
Sometimes I'd play alone in the park when, like, if I couldn't find any friends to play with, I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to go to the park and play alone.
That's sad. That's kind of sad.
It is. But like, also I lived in like Malton isn't big, but it's kind of like a city. So it's not like I could go to every single friend's house. And
see, I lived in Erin, and the only person that I couldn't really go to was
anybody in the
Chelsea.
Country. Yeah,
because they lived on the outskirts of town, so they were further. I mean, we did walk to Chelsea's house once, and that was a long walk. And I've only ever been driven to Kate's house. So, and Jen's house was far away too.
See, I lived in Hillsburg. So like if I wanted to hang out with you, I'd have to get a ride to Erin because that's a longer walk.
Yeah.
And then Laura was in the country as well, so we'd have to get a ride out there as well.
Or we would just be like, hey, let's meet here at this time.
Yeah.
And then we would all make plans, and then we would have to meet at that spot at a certain time.
Do you remember in high school at the end of the year, we would always have like those end of year picnics? We'd all bring something.
I miss it. I miss being in high school sometimes I miss the simplicity of life.
Yes. Kind of. Yeah.
So
I miss Erin. Like I liked going to school in Erin. At Orangeville, I didn't like it as much, and I never finished Orangeville.
I got bullied a lot. Yeah. Not so much. Okay, I got bullied a lot in like grades. I would say more like 5, 6, 7. I was here for 8 and 9, and then I left. and I got bullied worse in Ontario than I did down here. And it was funny because
Yeah.
I came down here mid high school,
Mhm.
and like I left. No, I did grade 10 in Ontario too,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
but I moved here in grade 11. Um, and when I moved here, I was in my mid like goth phase. So I was wearing the chokers and the black nail polish and the black lipstick and the black
And the heavy
eyeliner,
eyeliner.
the black shadow, and I painted my nails black, and everything I wore was black, and I had the black boots, and I dressed like that coming from
Mhm.
Ontario to a small town in Nova Scotia. And I got bullied worse in Ontario than I did here. When I moved here, people were like, oh, she's so cool. Like,
She's so exotic.
right? She's so different. Like, I've never seen anybody dressed like that.
Look at that big city girl over there.
From Erin, Ontario. Well, no, I wasn't from Erin, but I was moving from Erin. Aww. That's like when we went back to Ontario this summer.
Yeah.
And I took like, because the kids they've never gotten to experience what
You did.
it's
Yeah.
like, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
we
yeah.
took them, we were in Belleville and we were in Shannonville and we were in Tyendinaga, and
Did you
bunch
guys
of
end up going to Wonderland?
hmm?
Did you guys end up going to Wonderland?
I didn't personally because fuck that.
Especially with
But
children.
And her mom took all the kids, so they all got to go.
They are brave.
Right? That's what I said. I was like, you're insane. Because like, no.
No, no.
And yeah, so they got to do all sorts of stuff. They did Niagara Falls. They got to see Niagara Falls and do Clifton Hill and like all the Ripley's Believe It or Not and stuff. So that was fun.
I miss Clifton Hill. I would love to go back.
Oh, it's so insane. I
Yeah.
swear to God, I was like, okay, well, maybe because like I'm vaccinated, Garrett's vaccinated, the kids didn't need to be vaccinated to go.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was like, okay, we're pandemic still. Like it can't be that busy.
Oh,
So we decided to go to IHOP for breakfast that morning. We left Belleville the night before, and we were like, oh, we'll just go the night before so that we can beat traffic. Yeah, we fucking left at like, we left Belleville and at like, it was like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we didn't get to Niagara Falls until after midnight
yeah.
because of the traffic.
Like, are you crazy?
It wasn't me. So we get to Niagara Falls, and I am hateful. I'm like, I just want to go to bed. Like, I am tired. I just sat through
Was it
traffic
401?
in downtown Toronto. I want to go the fuck to bed. So we go to bed. We wake up the next morning. We decided to go to IHOP for breakfast because I haven't had IHOP and I couldn't tell you how long.
Is it
Okay,
still
it's
IHOP?
shit.
I thought they were changing it to the P to the B.
It's shit. It's gross.
It is
And
gross.
it is so do you know how much it cost us for breakfast?
That's
for
because you're
5
paying.
people?
That's because you're paying the tourist tax now in Clifton Hill and Niagara.
It cost us. I'm so ashamed of this.
For how many people? Wait,
for five
Okay.
people for breakfast.
$200.
Almost.
Yeah.
It was like 180 some odd dollars without a
That's
tip.
because they have like a tourist tax.
I didn't tip either because I was like, fuck that. I was
they're
like,
probably like cursing your name after you leave.
I honestly didn't. You know how many times I did not tip because like you are clearly overcharging me for a waffle that tastes like shit.
You're like, I was born in this country. I do not need to pay no tourist tax.
I was born here. Like,
yeah,
no.
It's more for the Americans because of the American border, like right there.
I wasn't in America. I could have understood if like I had gone to America.
Yeah.
I'm Canadian. I was eating at a Canadian fucking IHOP that was right across the street from our hotel. Like,
and honestly, like it's so, I wonder how many waiters and waitresses are like, why don't people friggin' tip me? Like,
And honest to God, the waiters were kind of, I'm like, there were
were
so
they
many
rude?
issues. We went to Montana's in Niagara Falls and we didn't even get to eat at Montana's.
Oh yeah, you told me.
We
That
left
was
a
awful.
terrible Yelp review because we went in there and somebody was like, well, maybe it's their like Uber. Maybe Uber was busy or like DoorDash. And I'm like, well, then why didn't they just close down the entire restaurant because they had
Yeah.
no wait staff to seat or take anybody's orders? We stood there with another family for like almost 30 minutes. And
Yeah.
Garrett had to go back and get somebody. And then
Yeah.
when they were walking, she's like, oh, went to go seat the family that was there before us. Cause we're like, well, they were here first. Like they've been waiting, like seat them.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, I'll have to go out back to get a high chair. And the guy's like, the fuck, as he's walking by, and we turn the corner and look, and there's a stack of high chairs. And we're like,
They
what
were
is
doing
going on
something
here?
sketchy in the I still think they were doing something sketchy in the back.
I think it's a cover. I
They're
think Montana's in Niagara Falls on Clifton Hill. It's a cover for like a mafia or like a mob boss or
probably
something.
or like a drug den.
And
Like,
Garrett pissed them off because he literally went back there and banged on the kitchen
yeah.
door and
Yeah.
was like, get out here. Like you have customers that want to eat.
Yeah. But yeah. So I think that's the end of tonight.
Yes.
We're like, by the way, this was also a listener request, kind of. Her name is Nyree, and she is from, I believe she's from Australia.
Ooh.
So if Nyree can be like, let us know if it's actually like Oceania, or I don't know how to say it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've never heard of Australia called that.
Yeah. I'll send you something because I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But yeah, so thank you, Nyree. And she's very sweet. I got to talk to her a little bit and she's very sweet. I liked her.
Well, thank you for your suggestion. I mean,
And I love
I
her
wasn't
name.
very talkative about baby
No.
farms, but like,
No. Sometimes I think sometimes this is what it's going to be like, where like one of us does most of the talking, and
well,
especially if there's not a lot of information on it.
We just came out of a Mercury retrograde and your girls had a hard time. I almost went on like a grippy sock vacation. So I'm just kind of like here. I'm present. We're doing our best.
Yeah. I'm like falling to pieces. I just turned 33 and I'm falling to pieces.
So doesn't get any better.
But yeah,
so can we kind of give a sneak peek as to what our next week? Because we have
next week is Halloween. So our episode will actually be up on Sunday.
October
on Sunday
31st.
sometime. We're not sure what time, probably earlier in the day. And it's gonna be a little bit of a Halloween special. If you do want to watch us be all dressed up,
yes,
you can
dress up, and we're gonna talk about
anything Halloween, really.
Everything Halloween, our favorite.
Like, let's not give too much. We're just gonna be talking about Halloween.
So much good stuff. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, because if we get a little too much information there, they could just
But we're gonna look cute.
We always look cute. I don't know.
We always look cute, but we're gonna look cuter. I'm giving like Jenna Marble vibes right now with like my big poofy blanket and like
I have the messy hair.
I got that too. See, you just can't tell because it's all black.
Yeah, I worked. I was like working today, and I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna do much to my hair. I'm not gonna fix myself up.
Nah. You know what?
All right, guys. You know what? I dolled myself up a few times for you guys, but like you gotta understand, this is the real me.
You're getting the real us now.
Yeah,
it's how it is. We love you. And you'll love us just the same because we're awesome. And don't forget to like and subscribe and click that bell so that you are notified when we post new videos. When we post new videos, it will also go up on our Apple and everything else. And
also don't forget to check out our Facebook group, not page. We don't use the page as much anymore.
And we're very interactive on the group too.
We are not in the past week. We've had a rough week, but we usually are. And our moderator has been doing really great. Thank you, Jen.
She's doing awesome right now. She's got all sorts of polls and questions up for you guys.
Yes. And also, please check out our Patreon and subscribe. Like, it's not expensive, and it does help us out. And you can check all that in our link tree. It's going to be linked in the description of um, the episode. So, yeah.
All right, guys, we will see you next week with a new episode.
Bye.
Bye.